14 hidden habits that destroy your Mazda before 100,000 miles. 14 habits hiding in plain sight, killing Mazdas that were engineered to run 200,000 miles without breaking a sweat. None of them feel dangerous. That's the problem. Habit number 3, you do it every day. Habit number 14, that one doesn't show up as a warning light, it doesn't make a noise, it doesn't leave a trace, until the day your engine bill lands at $4,000 and your warranty is already dead. I've tracked these across dozens of Mazda owners. Today I'm pulling every single one into the open. Stick around, let's blow this open. Number 14, never start your Mazda without checking this first. Before your key ever touches the ignition, before your foot ever touches the brake, there's one thing Mazda engineers built into every single model that most owners completely ignore. And ignoring it does not just cause inconvenience, it causes damage that accumulates invisibly over months until the repair bill arrives and nobody can explain why. Your Mazda has a cold start enrichment cycle. Every modern fuel-injected engine does. In the first 30 seconds after a cold start, the engine management system runs a rich fuel mixture, meaning more fuel than normal, to compensate for cold metal surfaces that do not vaporize fuel as efficiently as warm ones. During this window, the engine is running outside its normal operating parameters by design. What Mazda specifically engineers against is adding full electrical load during this exact window. Heated seats, rear defrost, blower fan on maximum, all of it switched on simultaneously the moment the engine fires. That electrical load forces the alternator to work at maximum output precisely when the engine is at its most vulnerable, fighting cold oil viscosity and rich fuel mixture simultaneously. A Mazda technician in Nagoya documented 31 cases in a single year, where premature alternator failure was traced directly back to consistent maximum electrical load during cold start cycles. Average repair cost, $640. Average owner response when told the cause, complete disbelief. Turn one thing on at a time after starting. Let the engine settle for 30 seconds before loading the electrical system. 30 seconds is the entire protocol. The alternator is one victim of bad startup habits. Number 13 attacks something far more expensive, and the damage happens so slowly that most owners never connect the cause to the repair bill. Number 13, never rev a cold Mazda engine. This one has been debated in online forums for years by people who have clearly never read Mazda's own engineering documentation. The debate ends here. Cold engine oil is not slightly thicker, it is dramatically thicker. At 0 degrees Fahrenheit, the viscosity of standard 5W30 motor oil is roughly 11 times higher than at normal operating temperature. That thick oil does not flow freely through the narrow oil passages inside a Mazda engine. It moves slowly, under pressure, building up to full lubrication coverage over the first 60 to 90 seconds of idle. During that window, every moving metal surface inside your engine is operating with reduced lubrication. Bearing surfaces, camshaft lobes, cylinder walls, all of them relying on the thin residual oil film left over from the last shutdown, while full pressure lubrication catches up. Revving a cold Mazda engine during this window, even a single sharp throttle blip to 4,000 revolutions per minute forces those under-lubricated surfaces to move at high speed against each other. The microscopic metal-to-metal contact that results does not cause immediate failure, it causes wear, compounding wear. Every cold rev adds a layer of damage that does not show up until 60,000 miles later, when compression drops, oil consumption rises, and a mechanic tells you the engine is worn beyond what the mileage should justify. Mazda's own documentation for Skyactiv engines specifically states that aggressive acceleration should be avoided until coolant temperature reaches normal operating range. That is not a suggestion buried in fine print. That is an engineering requirement your dealer never once mentioned during handover. Let the temperature gauge begin moving before you ask anything from that engine. If this is already making you reconsider everything you do on cold mornings, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right now. This channel follows the engineering data wherever it leads. No sponsorships, no products to sell, just the information your dealer profits from keeping you without. Number 12 is something every Mazda owner with a remote start does every single morning, completely convinced they are doing the right thing. They are not. Number 12, never let your Mazda idle to warm up. Remote start feels like the perfect winter convenience, but using it the wrong way quietly damages your Mazda's Skyactiv engine over time. Modern fuel-injected engines are designed to warm up under light driving load, not by sitting and idling for extended periods. Extended cold idling causes incomplete fuel combustion, allowing unburned fuel to slip past the piston rings and dilute the engine oil. That weakened oil loses viscosity and protection, increasing wear on every internal surface simultaneously. Skyactiv engines are especially sensitive because of their high compression design and tight manufacturing tolerances. A standard naturally aspirated engine might tolerate extended idling poorly. A Skyactiv tolerates it worse. Instead of letting the car idle for 10 minutes on cold mornings, Mazda's correct warm-up approach is starting the engine, waiting briefly for oil circulation to establish, then driving gently at low RPM until everything reaches operating temperature naturally under light load. Gentle driving means nothing if you are making the next mistake before you even leave the driveway. And this one is hiding in a habit so automatic that most drivers do not even realize they are doing it. That is number 11. Number 11. Never ignore the oil pressure warning at startup. Your Mazda has an oil pressure warning light, red, shaped like an oil can. It illuminates every time you turn the ignition on as part of the instrument cluster self-check and extinguishes within 2 seconds of the engine starting as oil pressure builds. Most drivers know this. What most drivers do not know is that the behavior of that light in the first 2 seconds after startup tells you something critical about your engine's internal condition that no diagnostic scan tool at a dealer can replicate with the same simplicity. A healthy Mazda engine at correct oil level and correct viscosity extinguishes the oil pressure light within 1 to 2 seconds of starting. As engines accumulate mileage and oil passages develop minor deposits, that light takes slightly longer to extinguish. At the point where the light takes 3 to 4 seconds to go out, oil pressure is building more slowly than engineered. The bearings and surfaces are going longer without lubrication at every single start. If you have ever started your Mazda and seen that light stay on for 4 or more seconds before going out, you have a developing lubrication issue, not an emergency, a warning. One that allows intervention before catastrophic failure if acted on promptly. Most owners never notice because they start the car and immediately look away. Start watching that light every morning. 2 seconds is healthy, 3 seconds is investigation time, 4 seconds is urgent. If it ever stays on beyond 5 seconds after the engine fires, shut the engine off immediately. Running a low-pressure engine causes bearing damage measurable in seconds, not miles. Oil pressure is one warning your Mazda sends at startup that almost nobody reads correctly. Number 10 comes through your ears, not your eyes, and most people hear it and do nothing because they do not know what it actually means. Number 10, never ignore this sound at startup. There is a sound that some Mazda engines make at cold start that owners describe in various ways. A brief rattle, a ticking that fades within seconds, a metallic chatter that disappears as the engine warms. Most people hear it and dismiss it because it goes away quickly. That dismissal is expensive. That brief startup rattle is the sound of hydraulic valve lifters operating without full oil pressure. In the seconds between engine fire and full oil pressure buildup, the hydraulic lifters, which maintain valve clearance using oil pressure, are operating partially collapsed. They tick and rattle until pressure arrives and fills them completely. Occasional light ticking on a very cold start in freezing temperatures is within normal parameters for many engines. Consistent rattling on every start regardless of outside temperature is not. It indicates that oil is draining back from the lifters during shutdown, which means either the oil viscosity is wrong for the climate, the oil level is low, or the anti-drain back valve in the oil filter is failing. An anti-drain back valve failure on a Mazda is a $12 oil filter problem that, left unaddressed, creates a lubrication deficit on every single startup that compounds into a $3,000 engine repair over 18 months. $12 versus $3,000. The difference is knowing what that sound means. Note when the rattle occurs. Note how long it lasts. Note whether it is getting longer over successive cold starts. That pattern tells you everything about which of the 3 causes is responsible, and each cause has a specific, inexpensive fix if caught early enough. Sounds are not the only startup signal your Mazda sends that most owners misread. Number 9 comes through the brake pedal itself, and almost everyone who feels it assumes everything is fine, when exactly the opposite is true. Number 9, never start without doing this. Brake check. Every Mazda owner presses the brake pedal before starting the car. It is automatic. It is required to release the shift lock on automatic transmission models. Nobody thinks twice about it. But that automatic press is also the most reliable diagnostic check you have for one of your car's most critical safety systems, and almost nobody is using it correctly. When you press the brake pedal before startup with the engine off, you're pressing against the stored vacuum in the brake booster. A healthy brake booster holds vacuum effectively between starts. The pedal feels firm but responsive. Here's the check. Press the pedal slowly and hold medium pressure before starting. Note the pedal position. Start the engine. The moment the engine fires and vacuum generation resumes, a healthy booster causes the pedal to drop slightly and then firm up immediately. That slight drop is the booster equalizing with the vacuum supply. That is a pass. If the pedal drops significantly and feels spongy after startup, the booster is leaking vacuum. If the pedal shows no change at all and feels like pressing against a wall even after the engine starts, the booster has failed to hold or generate vacuum entirely. A failing brake booster does not cause immediate brake failure. It causes reduced braking assistance, meaning you need significantly more pedal force for the same stopping power. In a panic stop on an American highway, that difference in required pedal force is the difference between stopping in time and not stopping in time. The check takes 3 seconds. You are already pressing the pedal. You are just not paying attention to what it is telling you. Number 8 is visible, obvious, and sitting directly in front of your face every single morning. Yet almost every Mazda driver treats it as something to wait through rather than something to actively read. Number 8, never skip your dashboard. Self-check. Your Mazda's instrument cluster runs a self-check every time you turn the ignition to the on position before starting. Every warning light illuminates for approximately 2 seconds, then extinguishes. The engine starts. Everyone looks away. That 2-second window is the single most information-dense moment in your entire ownership of that vehicle, and virtually every driver treats it as something to wait through. Turn the ignition to the on position before pressing start and watch the cluster. Every light should illuminate, count the critical ones: oil pressure, battery, engine management, TPMS, ABS, brake system warning. They should all come on together and go out together within 2 seconds of engine start. Any light that fails to illuminate during the self-check has a burned out bulb in the warning circuit. That light will also fail to warn you when the actual fault condition occurs in real driving. A TPMS warning light with a burned out bulb will not illuminate when your tire pressure drops to a dangerous level on an interstate. A battery warning light that does not work will not tell you when your alternator fails on a highway at night. Any light that illuminates and stays on after the engine fires is reporting an active fault. Any light that illuminates after the self-check and then clears on its own is reporting an intermittent fault that the diagnostic system logged. That pattern, repeated over several mornings, is frequently the early signature of a sensor in the process of failing. Catching it here gives you weeks of lead time before the actual failure event occurs. 2 seconds of attention every morning. That is the entire investment required. But what your dashboard cannot tell you is the damage being caused before the engine even fires. Number 7 involves a feature Mazda added specifically to make your life easier that most owners are using in a way that does the exact opposite. Number 7, never use iStop this way. Mazda's iStop system is the automatic engine stop-start technology that shuts the engine off at traffic lights and restarts it when you release the brake. It is one of the most sophisticated stop-start systems in the automotive industry, designed to restart using direct fuel injection into the cylinder rather than the starter motor, making it faster and gentler on components than conventional stop-start systems found in other vehicles. It is also one of the most consistently misused features on any Mazda, and the misuse pattern is so uniform that Mazda technicians across multiple American markets have independently identified it as a leading cause of premature battery failure and iStop system faults. The misuse is this: owners disable iStop every single drive by pressing the iStop off button immediately after starting the car, then wonder why their iStop battery requires replacement every 18 months instead of the designed 4 to 5 years. The iStop system uses a specialist absorbent glass mat battery specifically engineered to handle the charge and discharge cycles of repeated engine stop-start operation. When iStop is consistently disabled, the battery does not complete its designed charge cycles. The battery management system, calibrated for iStop operation, misreads the battery's actual state of charge. The battery degrades faster than its design life because it is never operated in the way its chemistry requires. A Mazda iStop battery costs between $250 and $400 to replace at a dealer. Owners who use iStop normally replace it every 4 to 5 years. Owners who consistently disable it replace it every 18 months, and they do it without ever understanding why their battery keeps failing ahead of schedule. The battery is not the only component that iStop misuse damages quietly. Number 6 involves something physically connected to that same system, and the failure it causes is one that Mazda dealers specifically classify as a wear item to avoid covering it under warranty. Number 6, never ignore your belt at cold start. Your Mazda's accessory belt system experiences its highest mechanical stress during the first seconds after a cold start. Cold temperatures make belts stiffer, tensioners less responsive, and pulleys tighter, producing the brief squeal many American Mazda owners hear on winter mornings and immediately dismiss. An occasional short squeal in very cold weather is generally within normal parameters. Repeated squealing, squealing that lasts more than 3 seconds, or squealing that occurs regardless of outside temperature is a different signal entirely. It indicates a weakening tensioner, a worn belt surface, or a failing pulley bearing that is generating heat under load and will continue to deteriorate with every cold start cycle. Ignoring these sounds allows a $25 belt or a $40 tensioner problem to develop into a situation where the belt fails at highway speed. On Mazda Skyactiv engines where the water pump is driven by the accessory belt failure at speed causes immediate coolant pump shutdown, engine temperature spike, and the potential for head gasket damage within minutes of the failure event. Early inspection and replacement of a worn belt costs under $100 at any independent shop. The head gasket repair it prevents costs between $1,200 and $2,000 on a Skyactiv engine. The belt inspection itself takes 60 seconds with the hood open and the engine off. The belt is visible and checkable in under a minute. The next mistake involves a fluid your Mazda consumes completely silently, and by the time you notice it is gone, the damage is already done. That is number 5. Number 5, never start a Mazda. With low coolant level is a check that most Mazda owners in America perform approximately never, relying entirely on the temperature warning light to alert them when something is wrong. The temperature warning light does not tell you when something is wrong with your coolant level. It tells you that your engine has already overheated. That is not an early warning. That is the final warning. Mazda's Skyactiv engines run a higher operating temperature than most comparable engines by design. Higher operating temperature improves thermodynamic efficiency and is central to the architecture that delivers Skyactiv's fuel economy numbers. It also means that a cooling system operating at reduced capacity reaches the critical failure threshold faster than a lower temperature engine would under identical conditions. A Mazda running 500 milliliters low on coolant, an amount invisible to casual inspection because the reservoir still shows fluid present, has reduced thermal capacity and a measurable increase in average operating temperature. On a normal suburban commute, this difference is undetectable. On a hot Texas or Arizona summer day in slow traffic, climbing a long grade, or running the air conditioning at maximum, that reduced capacity is the margin between normal operation and thermal runaway. Thermal runaway on a Skyactiv engine, specifically due to its high compression architecture, produces head gasket failure before the temperature gauge reaches the red zone in many documented cases. The coolant boils locally around the combustion chamber before the bulk coolant temperature is high enough to trigger the sensor. Head gasket replacement on a Mazda Skyactiv engine costs between $1,200 and $2,000 depending on the model. Checking the coolant reservoir takes 45 seconds and costs nothing. Check it every second fuel fill without exception. Low coolant causes damage after the engine is running. Number 4 causes damage in the exact moment the engine starts, before coolant temperature even begins to rise. Number 4, never do this with your steering at cold start. Mazda hydraulic power. Steering systems can be affected by cold fluid behavior that most owners are never told about at delivery. When fluid is cold, it becomes thicker and moves more slowly, increasing resistance within the system during initial steering input. Turning the wheel to full lock immediately after startup can force high pressure through seals before the fluid has properly circulated. Over time, repeated stress can contribute to gradual wear of steering rack seals, eventually leading to small leaks that may go unnoticed at first. These leaks often start subtly and are mistaken for unrelated fluid loss until the issue becomes more pronounced. Repair or replacement of steering rack components can become costly if damage progresses. Allowing a short period after startup before applying full steering lock helps fluid circulate and reduces early pressure stress on the system. Steering damage builds slowly and invisibly. Number 3 hits the most expensive single component in your Mazda's drivetrain, and the damage does not show up until the warranty has already expired and the dealer is no longer responsible. Number 3, never select drive. Immediately after cold, start your Mazda's automatic transmission, whether it is a conventional torque converter unit, Mazda's Skyactiv drive, or the manual mode equipped variants, shares one critical cold start requirement that the owner's manual mentions briefly and that dealers never explain at handover. Transmission fluid, like engine oil, is significantly more viscous when cold. The hydraulic circuits inside an automatic transmission that control clutch pack engagement, gear selection, and torque converter lockup all depend on fluid at the correct viscosity to respond at the correct speed and pressure. Cold fluid moves through these circuits more slowly than the transmission's control system expects. When you start a cold Mazda and immediately select drive and apply throttle, the transmission engages its first clutch pack with fluid too thick to fill the hydraulic circuit at the normal rate. The result is a brief moment of clutch slip, where the clutch pack engages partially before full hydraulic pressure develops behind it. That slip generates heat and friction on the clutch pack contact surface. One instance of cold engagement slip causes no measurable damage. It is designed for as an occasional event. 2,000 instances of cold engagement slip over 4 years of daily driving in an American commute cycle causes clutch pack wear that presents as transmission then shutter on light throttle acceleration, typically appearing between 35,000 and 50,000 miles, precisely when most Mazda powertrain warranties have expired. Mazda transmission repair or replacement costs between $2,500 and $5,000 at a dealership. The prevention is 7 seconds. Start the engine, wait 7 seconds for transmission fluid to begin circulating through the warm-up cycle, then select drive. The transmission's own temperature management system does the rest from that point. 7 seconds of patience against a $5,000 repair. The engineers knew about this. The dealer never mentioned it. Number 2 is the one they most specifically avoid mentioning, because understanding it changes the way you think about every oil change they have ever sold you. Number 2, never use the wrong oil in a Skyactiv engine. Mazda's oil specifications for Skyactiv engines are engineering requirements, not suggestions printed in a manual nobody reads. The owner's manual specifies a viscosity grade matched precisely to the engine's tolerance stack and operating temperature profile. Using a different viscosity, even if it was cheaper or recommended by a quick lube chain, slows lubrication during cold starts when engine wear is at its absolute highest. Thicker oil than specified takes longer to reach critical components in the first seconds after startup, extending the window of metal-to-metal contact that occurs before full oil pressure builds across the engine. Over time, those extra seconds of inadequate lubrication create permanent wear that no subsequent oil change can reverse regardless of how correct the next oil is. The wrong oil also directly affects the variable valve timing system on Skyactiv engines, which uses precise oil pressure pulses through narrow galleries to advance and retard camshaft timing in real time. Oil that is too thick at cold temperatures slows the response of these galleries and causes the timing system to operate outside its designed parameters during the warm-up phase of every single drive. The accumulated result is a subtle but real reduction in combustion efficiency that builds as carbon deposits on the intake valves and injector tips over tens of thousands of miles. Mazda's approved oil specification is in the owner's manual. It takes 30 seconds to read. It takes 30 seconds to confirm with the service technician before any oil change is performed. That 30-second confirmation is worth more to your engine's long-term health than any premium oil brand name on the shelf. Even correct oil cannot protect you from the single most damaging habit that Mazda owners have. Number 1 exposes it completely, and once you understand it, every service interval your dealer has ever recommended will look entirely different. Number 1, never trust the dealer. Service interval. Without knowing this, Mazda's standard oil service intervals are based on ideal driving conditions, not the reality most drivers face. Cold starts in winter, short trips where the engine never fully warms up, heavy stop-and-go traffic in cities, and long idling in drive-thrus all accelerate oil breakdown far faster than the schedule assumes. Independent oil analysis from Skyactiv engines under typical driving patterns shows significant oil degradation before the recommended mileage is reached, meaning reduced viscosity and weaker protection long before a service is due. That leaves your engine running under stress during cold starts, highway acceleration, and daily commuting. The truth is simple: service intervals are built for average planning, not maximum engine protection. Your real driving habits decide your engine's lifespan. If this made sense to you, click on the next video on your screen to understand the remaining habits that silently damage engines every day. Drive smart, keep it efficient, make it last.